Hey everyone, Sam again here to have another masterclass where we talk about how you would capture astrophotography like you would see on my Instagram or on my videos on YouTube here. So today we're going to talk about star trackers and how I use them and some of the ones I've used. You can see a few of these behind me here, three of them in particular. I have another one that is not located with me, and I've also used one other star tracker with one of my clients. So all the trackers that I've used have worked successfully, thankfully. No no technical issues, because some people face those, I know, but they have all worked well and produced good results. And like we'll walk through some of the examples of what's possible. So if we want to look really quickly, these are examples of shots here that were taken, and you would think this shot or this shot, like these were definitely taken with one of the trackers behind me, but believe it or not, neither of these photos required a tracker. Both of these were just my camera sitting on a tripod with the right settings. So this one we're looking at now was taken as a time lapse, and so this is one frame from probably a few hundred frames, and the camera was just sitting there on the tripod with no tracker. This one is a little bit more complicated. The foreground was taken with HDR, and then the sky was a stack of I believe I actually don't know, probably around 50 exposures. You can check my Instagram. It's just growth galleries. Maybe I think that one's going out tomorrow or Friday. You can definitely on Friday, if you look, you'll be able to see this photo on there and all the details that I used for capturing it. But it's a stacked sky, 20 seconds, and then the foreground just with HDR, and neither of these are requiring you to use a star tracker. So then you might be asking, Sam, why are we even having this discussion? These photos look really fantastic, and maybe that's good enough for your purposes, like to have a photo that looks like this with a foreground in the sky. It's definitely a whole lot more simple than learning how to use the star trackers, as well as all of the camera settings you need. But just sometimes when you're looking to print things, like for example this single exposure, like might look okay untracked, zoomed out, but when you zoom in, there's actually some trailing of the stars, which your star tracker can fix. You can see that there's a good amount of noise in the background here, and that noise could also be cleaned up by like changing your camera settings and using a tracker to reduce the noise with stacking. You could actually do stacking without the tracker over here, so we can look at an example of that. Again, you can see here the details. There's the details in the background are not perfect, right? This is these are 20-second exposures, so it's not super amazing, the detail, the clarity in the background. So if you do a 60-second exposure, which is what I usually use with my star trackers, you can get much cleaner results. So don't judge my stars, they're not in focus. But I wanted to point out one other thing here that you'll see that's a major difference between the shots that I take with my tracker versus the ones I shoot without, with just my tripod. You can see here that the level of detail in the Flame Nebula here and the Horsehead Nebula here is basically almost non-existent. And that's due to the fact that the shot is not exposed for very long, and also that the shot is along the horizon, so the atmosphere was causing some disruption. But definitely if I had pretty clear skies the night I was out, if I could have captured a 60-second exposure tracked, there would be a lot more detail in both of these nebulas here. You can definitely see a big difference between this and my tracked exposures. If you go look at my Instagram or on my YouTube channel, you can find several videos where I'm talking about shooting Orion, and you can see a lot more detail than you can with these untracked exposures. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea why you would want to use a star tracker. And so we'll talk a little bit about the details of what we're going to go into. So we need to know what a star tracker is, then we need to know what are the benefits of it. We talked about some of the benefits, and then we want to know did you even need one, right? Because we just looked at some really nice images that were not using a star tracker. and then if you need a star tracker, which one is the right one for you. So jumping into what a star tracker is, you can see three different ones here. They are of slightly different variety, and each of them have different advantages and disadvantages. So what in general, what a star tracker does is it comes back to elementary education, actually, where you learn that the Earth is rotating, and from the perspective of like taking an image of the sky appears to be moving from us standing still on Earth. And so in order to prevent the sky from appearing to move in your images of the sky, when you're taking a long exposure, more than probably 30 to probably 10 to 60 seconds, depending on how wide of your lens, somewhere in that range, you're going to start to see trailing in your images. And so then if you want to do exposure that's longer than that, you need a star tracker like this. And so it basically just counters the Earth's rotation. So the basic premise, we'll talk about it, is you see here I have laser pointers on these two trackers here, and those help me achieve a rough, what we call polar alignment. So Polaris is considered the North Star, and if we can shoot a laser through our polar scope and align align the mount with Polaris, then the rotation will be on the proper axis, and it will be able to properly correct for the Earth's rotation. That's the really high level rough idea of what you do here. So that works for this one. This is a Move Shoot Move Nomad tracker, and this one over here, this is the Skywatcher Star Adventurer. And then we've got this one here, which is the ZWO AM5. So you may be noticing that the ZWO AM5 does not have a polar scope or any attachment for a laser, and that's because it requires a more precise alignment. And so there's a technique called plate solving that it uses, and so that's a software-based technique. So you'll connect your camera to some sort of a computer, and that computer will talk with the camera, and it will tell you what adjustments to make in order for there to be a proper polar alignment. So that's how this one works over here. So if we want to get a rough idea what kind of camera you would use for each of these, let's see. So for the smaller mounts, you want to use a wide angle lens like this. Is a 14 millimeter lens, and you see that'll work really well here, and this mount would be completely overkill. I would basically never use this particular mount with a 14 millimeter lens. Not saying you couldn't do it, but I don't see a great use case for that. So then for the bigger mount here, I have also an example, and that's this telescope system here. You see it's a significantly more complex. There's the main shooting camera, and then this is what's called a guide camera, which will send corrections for tracking to the mount so that it will do its rotation to counter the Earth's rotation more exactly than these other mounts will. You could actually send corrections to this mount here. I tried setting it up one time, and I don't know, it didn't work super well with the setup I had at the time, and I found for all my wide angle sending corrections is not helpful, so only for like more of a deep sky setup. The other thing about the deep sky setup is you need this one is the deep sky setup. For the telescope, you have a computer, so this one is the ZWAS Air. It's really easy to set up. I recommend it if you're just getting started. But if you want to do something more advanced, there are other computer and software options for you to run your telescope system. So yeah, so this is just a basic 73 millimeter telescope. The focal length is around 400 millimeters, if that means anything to you. And this is the ASI 183 MC Pro or something like that. I think that's it. And effectively, you end up with approximately 1,000 millimeters with this of focal length with this setup. Some people were arguing with me on here on social media that this isn't 1,000 millimeters, and I'll agree with you. My telescope only is about 400 millimeters, but with the calculation with the sensor size, it's effectively a field of view of that same as 1,000 millimeters, give or take a little bit. So yeah, that's a telescope setup I would use with this mount. So if you're using a setup like this, you 100% need a mount. And even for visual astronomy, I would say a mount is like super helpful. Like I've tried manually setting up a telescope for visual astronomy. I to be honest with you, have never actually done that successfully. I'm too dependent on my software and my systems to find the objects in the sky for me. You could use add a visual adapter to the end here, and then you could look through the scope and use the mount to find the location in the sky and keep the telescope looking in the same location over the period of time that you want to do the visual observation. So I think that's a great setup if your goal is not even photography, just visual deep sky astronomy for a telescope. I recommend a mount. All right. Let's see. So, yeah, let's talk a little bit about I think cost here. So actually, like we talked about what a star tracker is now, how we use different equipment with it. And then we got a little bit into do you need one with this? So with a telescope, you definitely need some sort of mount, I would say. It's very not cheap too, actually. So definitely do some consideration before you think about getting into something like this. This mount, I believe, is around $2,000 for the ZWIM5. So it's definitely not a budget option. So if I would not recommend something like this unless you're very serious into it and you have a very, very real use case where you're going to take full advantage of the capabilities of this mount. So then the question is, if you're not using a telescope, then when would you need a mount for your wide angle shooting? So there's a few cases. So this mount here, which is kind of in the middle here, is sort of the little bit less complex than this, but more complex than this one. So if you're looking to capture images of the sun or the moon, this mount actually works really well. I used this during the last solar eclipse in 2024 in April, and I had one of my setups running with this mount here, and I was able to successfully get some good images of the eclipse during that time just with this mount. So that's something that this mount would probably not work very well for. So the main reason for that is this smaller mount here, the Move Nomad, this only has a star tracking capabilities. This Star Adventure, it has capabilities not only to track stars, but also to track the sun and moon. So if you're really looking into moon photography or capturing the sun, reminder, if you are shooting the sun, make sure that you put proper filters on on top of your telescope or camera lens, whatever you're using to shoot the sun. Do not point your telescope directly at the sun. Definitely not for visual astronomy, and for photography you can damage your image sensors for sure with a telescope, and possibly you could even damage your lens, but probably that's less likely because you have to get very warm for that, but it's definitely also another possibility. So for those type of things, definitely you could get started using this. Obviously, for sun, moon, stars, whatever, this mount works for all those cases, and this would also work. But if you're just getting into it, this one is probably around $300-$400, and maybe $300 to $500 range for this with all the adapters. You also get a balancing adapter. I don't have it right here with me to show you, but it allows you to put heavier like telescopes or camera lenses, and so if you're gonna put like a 400 millimeter lens on here or a telescope or something, you can use the counterweight to balance it out so that you don't burn out the motors in here or just have a reduction in the accuracy of the rotational correction here. So that's just some recommendations around using this particular mount. And also make sure that you are having the proper weight for your mount as well. So if your camera and lens setup weighs a certain amount, one of these particular mounts might work better for you. So the ZWAM5, I think it carries like, I think it's like 20 some pounds without a counterweight. And so you could put a significant thing, I don't know, telescope on here with all sorts of equipment and still be fine. This one, I think it holds around, I think 11 pounds. And that's assuming that you're using the counterweight system that you can buy with this setup. So then if anything is heavier than 11 pounds, obviously you might have issues with this particular mount, and maybe you should look into some of the other offerings from either the Skywatcher, or look into upgrading to more of a specific mount here where you're using a telescope. But for most people's setups, I would say like probably 80 or 90% of the use cases, for any wide field camera and lens, you'll be able to use this mount here. So the last mount we have here is the Motion Move Nomad, which I've mentioned is very specifically for wide field shots of the sky. So if you're shooting pictures of the Milky Way or Orion, like this mount is great. It's super light and portable. You can easily stow it away in your camera bag and carry it with you wherever you want to. This one you can kind of carry with you, but it's still kind of large and heavy, especially if you're looking to carry multiple cameras and tripods and stuff with you. This one, I found this one to be a bit more cumbersome. So if you're looking to go on a hiking trip or something like that, this particular mount is a much more manageable solution. So now that we've talked a little bit about the use cases for these, we can talk about which one you want a little bit more. So I would say in summary, this one is currently probably my favorite mount if I'm going to carry my gear anywhere. If I'm going to I'm going to go shoot the Milky Way, Orion, I will carry this mount with me. Like when I went hiking at the sand dunes last year, like this one was a super portable to carry. I didn't have to worry about having extra weight in my backpack. I could carry all my tripods, all my gear in my bag along with this, and it all fit comfortable and worked well. And with this one, right, this is a little bit more cumbersome. I like using this really big tripod here. This is just some generic Amazon brand tripod. It's not like a special tripod or anything, but it's carbon fiber and it's super steady. But it is actually really heavy and bulky to carry with me. So I really only use this setup when when I'm going to carry my gear less than probably a half a mile or something like that. If I'm going to hike a mile, I will almost certainly carry this lighter mount with me. But then again, if you're not moving very far and you want to shoot the sun and the moon, this one is the mount for you. And then if you're looking for a real telescope setup where you have a lot of weight, then this ZWAM5 would definitely be the mount that you should be looking into. So yeah, these are the basics of what I wanted to cover for this. Let's see here. Were there any questions? Don't see questions. But yeah, so these are the three mounts that I'm using regularly here. And then, I should mention my remote observatory mount here. Let me bring up a photo of that one real quick. And then we can spend a second talking about when you would want something that might be a little bit more advanced than any of the mounts that you're seeing here. So give me 1 second here. I'll bring it up. Let's see, is it here? All right. Cool. So let me share the right screen here. All right, there we go. So this is my remote telescope. So this telescope is actually down in Texas at Starfront Observatories. So I sent it down there last October, and I've been, or actually September, and I've been capturing images since last October. So you can see that this mount is a little bit more, is a little bit larger than any of the mounts that you saw behind me. And my whole telescope system is larger, more complex than any of the ones I have at my house. But this one has been working really well for me. This is the Ioptron CEM 70. So this is another mount that you can use. So I didn't mention it, but these are technically this Ioptron is a German equatorial mount, as well as the mount behind me that's from Skywatcher, and then the AM5 was the red mount. That's a harmonic drive mount. So that's some terminology. If you're interested in knowing the details on that, you can look up the way the different motors work and what are the advantages of each of those. Don't think I'm going to discuss that here. Maybe I can create a video on the technical details on the different types of mounts. Let me know in the comments if that's something you would be interested in. But this particular mount you see here has a very large counterweight, and that's one of the main features of a German equatorial mount, is that they have to be counterbalanced properly, or else the motors and the gears that run the mount will be damaged, and maybe it'll run okay for some period of time, but if things are imbalanced over time, you're going to run into issues. So that's one of the main features of the German equatorial mount. And so this Astro CEM70 will hold, I believe, up to I think it's 70 pounds of telescope gear and run effectively. Obviously, you'd probably have to buy more counterweights than what I have here to counter the 70 pounds, but the mount is very capable, more capable than any of the other three mounts here. And you can see that this telescope is like larger and heavier than any of the other scopes and camera lenses that I have. So this Ioptron CM70 has worked really well for me at the observatory. It is very reliable and gives me very good tracking. So if that means anything to you. So if you have questions about tracking, I create videos sometimes around my deep sky work. If you're interested in seeing more of those videos, also just let me know in the comments, reach out, maybe go watch all my other videos and comment and like, and then I'll know I should be making more videos on that particular topic. So yeah, that's the setup that I have remotely, and this is a little bit about the three mounts that I have here. So all four of these mounts have worked well. I've produced good images across all four of them, and yeah, if you have questions, put them in feel free to put them in the chat. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on School. That link is in should be in the description of the video. So if you look down here, you should be able to find that. You can join my community. Come ask me any Astro related questions that you might have. And yeah, I think that basically wraps up what I was hoping to cover today. And yeah, again, if you are looking for a mount, I really would not say you could go wrong with any of the three here. Or if you need something more advanced, my remote observatory mount, the CM70. That's also a good mount. I'm not sponsored by anybody. You can see I'm using equipment from 4 different manufacturers as far as my mounts go. So I have had a good experience across all of them. And yeah, I think I've used a couple other products. There was one Skywatcher, I forget what it is. It has go-to functionality, and it has a little bit more weight capacity than this, but I found that the Star Adventure was easier to use than that mount. So if you're just getting started and you're not going to set up a telescope right away, then I would say that this is the better option for you. So I see there's a question here. Wes is asking, I am just getting started. Yeah, so so I don't know if you were here for the beginning of my talk, Wes, but if I hop over to my photos again, we'll look at this photo here. So you see this photo here. You're asking how to get started. This is like literally a photo that I took with just my camera and my tripod. So if you have the right equipment and you know how to use it, you can take really amazing photos with just a camera and a tripod. And so my recommendation is you would start there. If you don't have a camera and tripod to start with, I would say you should actually start with your phone. Actually, if you have a phone and either a tripod or some way to stabilize your phone so it's not going to move for the 30 seconds or whatever your exposure time is, then I would say definitely you can get started just with your phone. So I actually wrote an article on that. If you want to get started with your phone, I can put that in the chat here. Let's see here. Um, Bring it up. So I have the steps for the phone photography here. If you're not ready to start using a camera or a tracker, so you can go through those steps. They work well for me. I've played with it several times. Even the other night I was out. It was like Monday night or Tuesday night. I was out shooting and I got some pretty cool shots of Orion. And I was shooting over a small mountain town where there was a good amount of lights, and the contrast between the bright town lights and the sky is really drastic, and I was still able to see all of the relevant stars, as well as some of the nebulas. They were visible in the photo that I captured over the city. Let's see. I don't know if can bring that. I don't have the photo on my computer right now. It's probably on my phone. But it's really amazing what you can do with the phone. So if you're just getting started and you're not sure if you're interested, you don't know if you want to spend money on camera gear, then start with your phone. Then if you are like, this is really cool, I want to take better pictures of the sky, then the next step I would say is to buy a dedicated camera and probably a lens here. Let's see if I can swap the view back to me here. So when I say dedicated camera and lens, I say something like this. It doesn't have to be Sony or this exact one, but you should get a dedicated. I recommend full frame cameras. You'll get better results. If you want more details on why and how, you can ask me in my school community, which is linked below. And then the lens, I would say start out with a wide lens, something between 10 millimeters and probably 28 millimeters, in that range. And the aperture should open up to at least, I would say you can do aperture f/2, 1.4, 1.8 would be better. The images I was showing you before that were single exposures or 20-second exposures. Those were all shot at, I believe, aperture f/1.8. So I recommend at least f/1.8 if you want to take good pictures without a star tracker. Now once you get into a star tracker, then you have more options for your gear. So if you already have a whole lot of money invested in your camera equipment and you want to get into astrophotography, and your fastest aperture is f/4 or something like that, you're gonna really struggle to get amazing shots with just your tripod. I'm not saying you can't get shots. You can definitely get some shots, but you're gonna have a lot of noise because your ISO is gonna be like super high, or you're gonna have to compromise on the exposure, and your exposure will be too long and your stars will be trailing. So you won't get the best results with a slower aperture. So if you're in that scenario, like, you might be able to solve your problems by just buying one of these mounts here for like $300 to $400. You can get either of these, and then with your f/4 lens, you can easily do a track shot of the Milky Way for a minute or 2 minutes and get some really great results. So I guess that would be the progression, and then the final progression is you've advanced past your wide lens photography, and you're like, I want to take zoomed in pictures of the sky with either a telephoto lens or a telescope, and then you move on to this mount over here, right? And then you can set up something more complex like this. So these things are a lot more complex. I say don't get started here. I did not start here. I started with this mount right here. Actually, I started with my tripod and a camera, which an APS-C camera, not even a full frame camera. I don't know if I don't know if I've ever told this story on the video here. Maybe I did in one of my other videos, but I can quickly tell you here how I got started with this. So I got started in 2020 when the comet Neowise was coming around. And I saw all these photos on Instagram of people capturing comet Neowise. And as I saw those photos, I was like, maybe I can try to capture it myself. So I had an APS-C lens, and I had a camera and a telephoto lens, like a 28 to 200 or something like that. So I think it opened to f4 or something like that. So it was not very good. So I took this out and I went and I put it on my tripod, and I could see the comet, and my editing was not very good, so I produced some not very good results. So but it got me started into astrophotography, and from there I was like, what could I have done differently? And so I learned what are the camera settings, what is the use for a star tracker, how to shoot foregrounds and sky compositions separately, how to blend them together. All these things I learned them after I was starting to get into this later in 2020, and then in 2022 I bought this mount. Actually, in 2020 I bought this one, like right away, probably in August or September of 2020 I bought this, and I started doing all sorts of astrophotography. I actually shot some shot Pleiades and Andromeda and Orion and like a whole bunch of different things just with this particular mount. So if you're looking to get started and you want to do a variety of things, this mount is great. It worked great for me to get started. I got good pictures of the Andromeda galaxy, particularly with I was able to capture up to 2-minute exposures, which is plenty of light for you to get a really good picture of Andromeda. If you're looking to take a whole bunch of those, stack them, this mount is very capable of doing that for you. So yeah, so that was kind of a little bit about my story and how I got into this. And obviously things escalated. 2022 I got this with the full telescope setup I just showed you, and then last year I bought the other telescope setup that is in the remote observatory. So yeah, a little bit about my history. So like, I don't want to give you guys the wrong impression that this is easy. Maybe some of the results I'm seeing are really fantastic from a lot of perspectives, but like it took me 4 or 5 years now of 4 to 5 years of dedicating a lot of my time to this topic, to go out and shoot on many different nights. And yeah, it's like you learn a lot as you try different things. One thing I haven't talked a lot about on here is moon photography, which I've actually done quite a bit of. I spent almost an entire year where I did not shoot any deep sky. I just did some wide fields and mostly shots of the moon for like a whole year. I think I shot the moon probably or photographed the moon like 20 sometimes or something in 1 year. So when you do something like that, you learn a lot of the details about how is the best way to use your star trackers, how is the best way to use your camera equipment, and just like I'll learn about like the lenses, telescopes, all the things that you might need to know if you're getting into this hobby. So yeah, I think hopefully this is helpful. Let's see, I see another comment in here. Yeah. So what's this saying that he has the Canon EOS 60D with 3 lenses, so 12 megapixel crop camera. So it's that's going to that you should be able to definitely get a picture of the Milky Way with that. The crop sensor is going to limit the level of detail and maybe add some graininess to your images, but you can definitely get a good image. I don't know what lenses you have, so I can't comment on like what challenges you might face with that. But like I would say use a wide lens with a what we call very wide aperture, so like a small aperture number, which means that the lens will open up very wide, which we've talked about in the last couple master classes. So if you're interested in those, you can go check that out. And so if the aperture is very wide, then you could probably get really good results even with a crop sensor 12 megapixel camera. So yeah, and if there's no other questions, I think we'll probably wrap this up. So I hope you enjoyed hearing a little bit about the history behind my photography, and hopefully you can learn something from how I've used the four trackers that I specifically own and use, and then my experience with using other trackers with my clients too. So again, yeah, if you have any questions or anything, you can find me in school, and if you join there, I have a session every Saturday where I talk about talk about whatever you want to talk about. So, but astrophotography related. So if you join there and bring your questions, I'll answer anything that you're looking for. So, and if that time doesn't work for you, when you join my community, I'm offering everyone a free session to join. If you join my community, you can spend 30 minutes, or if I'm free, I'll spend an hour with you to just discuss your specific scenario, your existing equipment, any questions you might have about the topic of astrophotography in general. So again, thanks for joining, and I hope you all have a good evening. Clear skies.